All right, so I'm going to begin the body and cage install for this 2020 YXZ-1000 Yamaha build for my son. The body is pretty simple. The cage is pretty simple. It's just, kind of some bulk work, if you will. I start with that headlight bezel. That's a little plastic ABS black piece that goes on the actual bracket for the headlights, for that factory headlights. And then that white kind of nose piece, that hood nose, that thing has to be on as well before you can put on the big front fender piece here that's blue in this video. Those are the only items that I put on before I install a cage because the cage crossbar blocks the ability to remove those things. So just using OEM hardware. I talk about the bolts and stuff here in just a second. But this took me about, 20 minutes to do total. I just kind of zipped through it here. All right, so got the front body work on. Now I want to do the cage. This is the only piece of plastics that really has to be on before you put the cage on for an aftermarket cage because it has the intrusion bars. Well, not only the intrusion bars, these are intrusion bars, but the lower cage in the front has that crossbar, whereas a factory cage does not. So like you see on this one here, that crossbar prevents you from being able to put in or remove the front plastic fenders. Factory cage doesn't have that, so you can remove every piece of plastic with the factory cage on, but not with an aftermarket cage. This is a cage I got from Ray Miranda. He's in Phoenix. I think Glendale actually is where his shop's at. Rayscar Designs is his company. And he's a racer. He races the Yamaha YXZs in side-by-sides. I don't know exactly what, like if it's short course or what, but anyways, he's got a full-on fab shop and I think at least one guy working for him, and they're pretty good. And I got lucky when I picked up this cage. I just happened to be in Scottsdale or something, and one way or another, I guess found Ray, and he had this cage ready. And the only thing it lacked was some light bar tabs. So he added some light bar tabs, and then he gave me these like adapters I'll show you later that fit my Baja Designs light bar. And then he added some whip tabs or like an antenna tab for me. But I'm excited to see it. I've never used a cage from him, so hopefully it fits well. And also hope I like the way the lines are. The ones I've seen pictures of his cages look good to me, so we'll check it out. I've got my son here help me to lift the cage and put it in place. This is really the only part that I have to have two people for, just to have some extra hands to lift it. I've got a joist for my shop. I just haven't installed it or set it up yet, so maybe one day I will. So here we go. The main thing that you're shooting for, I guess there's 6 contact points I should tell you first. The angle for this piece has to set, it's kind of at a backward angle. So you kind of have to set that piece down. That's really the main thing you're shooting for. And then the other mating surfaces are also kind of at funny angles. So none of it really lines up when it goes down. It all kind of has to pop into place. And doing a cage on a YXZ is interesting because the chassis flexes without the cage on it. The cage actually makes the whole thing a rigid frame. So like right now you could squeeze the cage and make these points line up differently. So it takes some influence. The tools I normally use for this is ratchet straps, sledgehammers, a jack, and I use, these are like steel tools, something like this, because once you get the holes close to being lined up, you can hammer these in to kind of punch it, if you will. But they do pretty well. Sorry, it wasn't focusing very well, but you get the point. Just be prepared to do some influencing on the steel. Okay, so we're gonna lift it and just kind of set it on there, and then I'll start doing the ratchet straps and stuff. Are you ready? We just gotta make sure we don't scratch the plastic.
While you were moving, there was a lemon on that whole thing.
Cool. You good? Feel like it's gonna fall in place. Here, let me lift my part up. There we go. Gonna hold yours there. Okay, so that looks good. Okay. Perfect. So that was a little cumbersome, but you know, two guys can do that in just a couple of minutes, and it's not real stressful. The cage is not heavy enough to really be a problem. So all really did just set it down over that sleeve, and you'll see the rest of these surfaces need to be pulled together. All of that happens once you pull that gap down. These front ones are here as well. So what I normally do now is I take a ratchet strap and I wrap it over this part of the tube on the cage and this part of the tube on the frame. And I basically just pull those two surfaces together as tight as possible. And it's important that you don't get one too far ahead of the other. See how small that gap is? And then how big that gap is? You kind of want to keep it as square as possible so that the chassis doesn't fight you. So, yeah, man, so that's it, really. I don't know, I might not even need to ratchet strap it if I can get one of those punches, one of those steel tools in that hole and just hit it. It'll probably start sucking it down pretty good. So these other pieces, the front and rear pillars, I guess that would be the A pillar, and the C pillar will fall into place when you have the B pillar in the right spot. It all kind of falls in there. So cool. Well, I'm gonna get the straps out and kind of get ready to doing that. I might just kind of hit on this one a little bit first, see where it goes. That's it for now. I'll be back here in just a minute with get some tools on it. And just like that, the cage is on. I'll say I've put 4 YXZ cages on before, maybe 3. 3 different cars, but I took one off, put one back on the same car, on my first car. Anyways, so point is I've done a few of these now, and this cage is absolutely by far the easiest one to go on. It used to take me hours and ratchet straps and sledgehammers and jacks and stuff. This thing just slid right on. It kind of slipped on at first, and then we just had to pull it together is all it really took. So I'm really impressed with the fitment of this cage. I didn't get it on video, but basically all we really had to do was just get these holes to line up, and as soon as they cross a little bit, I just take this punch, get it in there just enough for the tip to get through, and then I just kind of tap it with a small sledge. It really didn't even need to be a sledge, just some sort of hammer to kind of tap it in, and it just kind of pulls everything in line until you can get a bolt in it. But I'm pretty happy with it, the fitment of it. I'm just stoked with how easy that was. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit more body work on. I didn't put any additional body work on in the event that, you know, scratches or like you can drop the cage. Actually, it would have been a good idea for us to tape up some of this up front, but I didn't do that. No big deal with 2 people. You can usually handle that. If you're trying to do it with one person, it's pretty easy to slip and lose hold of something. But anyways, so cage is on. I'm gonna bolt up some of the electronics. Like I can get the whips on. I can put I have some quick light whips, which are cool. I can get the antenna mounted for the rugged radio. And then I can start running wiring. I actually run wire in the tube of the cage for the light bar. I basically drill a small hole and put a grommet in it that goes like right here. And then I run it down this common tube. And then I come out up here for the light bar. So that's some work I can do now. I've got some mirror lights that I can bolt on. That's what these wires are hanging loose for. They just kind of clamp on right here. So it's gonna be fun. I like to just kind of bolt some things on now. It'd be pretty easy. So cage is on. It's really starting to look like a car now. I'm going to continue putting body parts on. Just got the cage done. I already did the front body parts. I just showed you that quick like run through of putting it on. I didn't really go through the parts and pieces of it, but I just want to talk about the fasteners on the body. Yamaha uses different types of fasteners for different areas, and these are primarily what they use for the body and the plastics. Let me show you these differences here on the workbench. So this is a very popular 10 millimeter. It's just a black steel bolt with a washer that's kind of attached to it. Those are used anywhere there's plastic pretty much, and they put that where two pieces of plastic mate. And they use, this is both sides, that's one here, and then this is the other side, and they use these metal clips together. And then they also use these small Allen bolts. So this is a black one. Certain models have black, certain models have silver. Anyways, it's an Allen, I think that's let me see, I can tell you. That's a 4 millimeter Allen bolt head. And notice it is a, it's just a, how do I say that? I think that's called a round head or a pan head. I don't know. But it's different than this one that has like a spacer there. And Yamaha uses the ones that have the spacer on like that to fill a gap when you have two pieces of panel going together. So I'll tell you on this car, in the body work, all of these are the one without the spacer, but then that lower one over there, and I'll show you on this one, it's clearer. And on this lower one here, that's where that gap, the one with the spacer behind it, is used, and it's because there's another piece of plastic behind it, so it's like two pieces of plastic getting squeezed up against the frame, and that's why they use those in those places. So I'm going to start putting this bodywork on, and while in it, part of what I'm doing is, since this car is blue and white, it's kind of brighter and shinier, as opposed to this one's a little more, I don't know, Darth Vader, I guess, with the flat black colors and things. I'm going to switch all the hardware on the bodywork that's exposed. So all of these polished or chromoly bolts that you see, I'm going to change those over to this car so that it's, it just kind of has the trend of being a little bit brighter and shinier and polished. And then I'm going to put all of the black hardware that came on this car, I'm going to put all the black hardware on that one. So I'm just going to swap to all those bolts that are black on that car. I just use this is a 4 millimeter. It's a very small, easy, low torque setting on an impact. So I just use that, and I just kind of give it, one or two little hits. I never torque them down real hard. I never sit there and drive them in or anything like that. But it's pretty quick whenever you have a small gun or a torque or a impact or a small drill or something like that to do it. So I'm going to make quick work of swapping all those bolts to black on that car. And then once I have them in my hand, I will start putting on more body in this car. All right, I'm going to start here on the driver's side. It's pretty easy to more or less hang the panels in place before you actually have to fasten them. So I'm just going to walk around and do that. They kind of hook on, if you will. The body shop that painted these is a hot rod shop here in Lubbock, in my hometown, Lubbock, Texas. A place called Rev Limit Customs. They're built into like a restaurant and bar and entertainment venue called Cook's Garage. One of the family members rides with us in our group at the Sandbox. So anyways, it's a hot rod shop. I kind of wanted to try them on some small stuff first. I wanted to try Rev Limit on some smaller stuff like this. This is the second YXZ they've painted for me, and they do a pretty good job. They do the undercoating on the backside, which makes it a nice refined look. And then they'll wet. I'll take them the whole car once I get it back together, and they'll do wet sanding and get it refined and make it look real nice. But I wanted to try them on something like this first because I intend to have a nice hot rod built someday, probably sometime soon. And for the more specific parts, I might use them or a shop like them. So I was kind of testing the waters. They have a guy named Trevor that runs the shop, and he's pretty good. I don't know if he's a member of the family or not, but whatever. They're pretty good so far. So like I said, I'm just kind of setting the body panels in place before I actually run the fasteners around. It helps to get things better lined up in the end. Most anything that has to do with body panels, any of the fastener holes and things, they have like slotted openings so that you can make adjustments. Because that's the way body panels are. You know, they move, they flex, and you don't need to get all upset if they're not lined up quite right, because you know you can have adjustments in the body. You just have to get your openings are more or less slotted, like these panels or these brackets back here that hold the rear fenders on. Like the brackets actually have slots where they attach to the chassis, so they do that on purpose, you know, so you can move them around and things like that. So I'm gonna run around with these fasteners. I went through, and I also failed to mention there's actually two different lengths of these fasteners. See if I can get a better angle for you. There's fasteners with and without the little spacer that I was telling you about, and then there's two different lengths of the ones without the spacer like that. And then here's the longer one that has the spacer. For the body work, there's only one spot on each side where this one with the spacer goes, and it's right here at the bottom part of the rear fender. And it's because there's like multiple layers there, so I kind of get it started with a finger on every. I'm going to go around the whole car and get them started, and I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I should have been more diligent about watching where I remove, which ones are short, which ones are long. I'll look in the book and see if I can't figure out for sure, but I think the long ones go in places where these tabs on the chassis are, you know, it's on the different plastic, and I think the short ones just go in the door. I'm not sure about that though, so I'm gonna get the book out and I'll tell you where they go once I figure that out. In the meantime, I'm just gonna go around the car threading in each one of these bolts by hand just to start, and then I'll tighten them down with the little impact. All right, so I'm just gonna zipping through this clip here. I'm just walking around the car, putting in each bolt with my fingers first. Like I said, making sure to put the correct bolts in the correct holes. I think I kind of settled on the shorter ones go in the door, and then the longer ones go on the fenders. And then the only one that's a little bit longer that has that spacer on it goes in the lower hole of the rear fender, like I showed you a second ago. And I just kind of start them with my fingers so they're not cross-threaded, and then I go around here with my little Milwaukee 12-volt impact. It's pretty weak. It's not gonna overdrive them or anything like that, and you know, just kind of enough to give it one or two little ugga-duggas. Never sit there and wail on it very long. But that's it here. All right, we got a blue car now. I'm pretty happy. So I torqued down all of the cage bolts. So these are 14mm bolts and nuts. Just torque the hell out of them, make them tight. And then this is a 14mm nut with a, I think that's a 6. What is this? This is a 6mm hex for that. And that's cool. The body, so I swapped all the fasteners like I talked about earlier. So this car originally came with black body fasteners like you see down here. So these are polished. I took the black ones off of that car, put them on Brooklyn's car. Took the polished ones off of her car, put them on this car. So it looks cool. I like it better that way. Couple of notes. You've got to clearance your doors. So when you put the body on, before you start swinging your doors open and closed, you kind of gotta, you know, these holes have some adjustment in them. They're bigger holes than the bolt is. So I had to loosen that one and push this panel that way so that it wouldn't rub the door. That gap is bigger than normal for me. I don't know why, but my other cars don't have a gap quite like that. Maybe it's just because it's colored. It looks funnier to me. And then also in the door jamb, there's a couple of 10mm fasteners that you want to have lined up and tightened before you start swinging your door closed, because otherwise you're going to do that and scrape because that panel was loose. Since this is painted, it really marks up really easily. So I'm sure the guys at Rev Limit can wet sand that out. But you know, on an off-road vehicle with just plastic bodywork, you're going to get stuff like that. The panels aren't ever going to line up perfect, and they are going to get marked up. That's part of what we do. So if you want a showroom perfect car all the time, then you put it together and you park it. Because if if you're worried about little panels lining up and marks on your panels, that's part of what we do. So I'm pretty happy with the way it lined up. And that's kind of it. I think I'm gonna, like I talked about earlier, put some of the bolt on some of the stuff on the cage. I can bolt on the light bar. I can bolt on these quick light and the antenna. I'm gonna do some of those things. It'll be kind of neat to get that stuff on, and then I'll start running wire to it and finish up some of the electronics. But I don't know, kind of itching to get the rear suspension on. A lot of people have been giving me questions about the NXS Designs long travel, and I did the video on the front of it already, but I have not touched the rear. I'm going to do that pretty soon. The rear is, you have alignment issues that you have to be concerned about. So it bolts together pretty easy, to be honest, but your alignment, because your lower rear A-arms have adjustment, that's a topic of discussion and takes some work to get that right. So that's something I might tackle here pretty soon. So that's it. Thanks for, oh yeah, this roof. So the cage came with a roof from Rayscar Designs that Ray built for me. It's a nice thin aluminum roof, and it's pretty lightweight. I had it powder coated to match. It's dirty, but it's, you know, it's dusty even sitting on my floor. But I'm gonna take it to a local interior upholstery fabric shop here in Lubbock that does automobiles and boats and stuff. And I'm gonna have them put a headliner on the bottom side of it. I like headliners because they actually keep your cab noise quieter. You know, like in here in Brooklyn's car, I have these stickers, which are cool, looks neat, but you definitely have more noise. It resonates quite a bit. The R-Max was pretty loud. R-Maxes are known for loud cabs, so it's just a bunch of hard sheet metal above your head. So I'm probably gonna have that roof get a headliner, and then this one as well. Just use like a vinyl, you know, it's kind of weatherproof that way. So anyways, I'm gonna send I'm gonna get that roof over there. It only takes them a day or so. It's pretty cheap to do that too. As long as they're not backed up, they can get to it fast, and I'll put that roof on too. And then that'll kind of conclude the bodywork parts, at least for the blue stuff. I'm really happy with the coloring. I like this blue. I think it's pretty. And also the powder coat, which all the bars, the bumper and the A-arms and stuff are all powder coated, and the bodywork is painted. I got a good, accurate sample piece to Rev Limit whenever they did this paint. So they did a paint match. It's not an actual like manufacturer color or whatever. So the paint matches the powder coating better than my old car did. My old car, I tried to match the factory frame, because if you remember, the 2016 models had blue frames. It was mostly white plastics and a blue like metallic Yamaha frame. So it was always kind of difficult for me to get the powder coat to match the factory frame, and it didn't quite match. And then I tried to get the bodywork painted to match that powder coat, and it didn't quite match. So I ended up with like 3 or 4 different color blues on it. And so this is turning out to match quite a bit better. And the color is kind of funny. I picked the powder coat color off of a sample booklet that the powder coat company had, a local place in Lubbock here that I use called Coating Specialist. They're pretty good, and I like them. They're real close to my place. And so I took their samples, and I got the closest sample match I could to the Simpson Vortex seats and Simpson harnesses, because that was something in my old car that never matched right. I got PRP seats, and when I bought the PRP seats and harnesses, I asked the PRP people what color matches the 2016 Yamaha YXZ-1000, and he told me the color, and he said it's not a perfect match, but it's pretty close. Well, when I got those seats, I mean, you know, no big deal, first world problems, but I'll tell you, it was not a match, and I was pretty upset about the whole build, because seats didn't match the harnesses didn't match the frame didn't match the powder coating didn't match the body paint. So I had like 5 different blues on that car, and I changed it a couple of times to try to get it to work right. But anyways, my point is this one's turning out quite a bit better, and I'm happy about that. One of my concerns is this plastic is actually I bought this used. This is used 2016 plastic that was off of an orange car. So Yamaha made an orange YXZ in 2016. So there's a little spot where it's rubbed off already, just from contact on the inside there. But I'm hoping it doesn't wear through. But if there's ever any deep scratches or anything, it's gonna be bright orange. So we'll see how that pans out. Okay, that's it for body and cage. Next video, I don't know, it might be rear NXS suspension, or it might be electronics. I'm not really sure yet. I'll figure it out. See you. Thanks for watching.